Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Malika Ramsey Show. I am Malika Ramsey McPherson. Thank you very much for tuning in. First off, I owe all our viewers locally in this jurisdiction, our live viewers, I owe you an apology for last week. We were not here as promised at 8, but those of you who follow me on social media, I know you got an earful about our conversation on fibroids because I got messages and so on from so many of you. So thank you very much for supporting, and I am happy that you would have learned so much from Dr. Singh, who was here last week. We were unable to go live on Channel 9 because of some technical difficulties here at the studio, but according to the guest that I have in studio tonight, he would say those small things. We were still able to go. I'm not going to introduce you to the guest just yet. But we're happy to be back in your homes. Thank you very much for inviting us. This week we are dealing with fashion. I am trying to get away from saying local this and local that. I think earlier on social media and a couple of days ago I was talking to friends of mine and I was telling them I have a local fashion designer this week. I want us to get, yes, it is what it is, but I want us to get away from saying local this and local that, because you put a label on them to some extent, and fashion designers now living in Guyana, they go all over. Their work is everywhere. So, and the world it's one big world now. We're globalized. So I'm going to say I have a fashion designer on the Malika Ramsey Show tonight, and his work is awesome. I got an opportunity to see some of his designs. You're not going to get much of it tonight because I want to remind you that we are still operating in we're still living in a pandemic, and we're operating under rules that, of course, to ensure that none of us get sick, that we all stay protected. So the flair and the fancy things in terms of seeing a model in here wearing some of his clothing and so on, you're not going to get that tonight because, again, we have to keep everyone in the studio safe. So thank you very much for tuning in. We'll take a quick break, hear from one of our sponsors, and then come right back with tonight's program and tonight's guest. Stay tuned. Thanks for staying with us. One other thing I forgot to apologize also for the late start. As some of you who view Channel 9, you would know that there's a live program right before ours, so that takes up some of the time, but we're going to try to work things out. Remember, this is still a new show and there will be teething problems, so we're trying to work everything out. Now to that special guest I told you about. It is my pleasure to introduce, to those of you who don't know him, I don't know if I was the only, person. Maybe it's my generation, I've been in too much. But it is my pleasure to introduce you to and welcome him to our program, Mr. Mark Junor, and he is a fashion designer, and he wears many other hats, which I only discovered a few hours ago, but tonight we have him here in his capacity as a fashion designer. Mark, welcome to the Malika Ramsey Show.
Thank you so much, Malika, for having me.
All right, great to have you. All right, we're going to jump right into the conversation.
Okay.
Now, I have gotten the opportunity to look at a lot of your pieces online and so on, and just looking at the pieces, I can tell that you are passionate. First off, what is the name of your clothing line?
The name of my clothing line is called Kram Designs. But it's not just my clothing line. I merge my clothing line and my makeup line together. So it's Kram Designs and Beat by Mark.
And Beat by Mark. All right, we're going to get to the beat just now. the makeup, yes. The young people call it the beat. I'm trying to keep up here. Mark, why fashion?
For me, fashion is my freedom of expression. There's a lot of things that I can do with fabric and clothing, and I can put on the body and make persons feel comfortable and make myself feel comfortable, as to me just buying a garment and not feeling comfortable, just wearing it because of wearing its sake.
All right. So when we say fashion designer, that means you draw, you create, you sew.
I sketch, I color, I cut, I sew, and I accessorize.
Male and female clothing?
Male and female clothing.
All right. What inspires you?
What inspires me? The human body, nature, my friends, family, and Prince. I'm a lover of Prince.
You're a lover of
Prince.
Prince. Okay.
So everything Prince is from Kram, period.
Wonderful. When you said nature, I automatically went, I don't know why, maybe it's because I'm Guyanese to the bone, I automatically went to Kaitro Falls. And then in that split second, I started thinking about cultural activities in Guyana and cultural promotions and so on. Have you been a part of creating anything cultural for Guyana and Guyanese, whether it is for events abroad or at home?
I did a few collabs with other persons locally. The Miss Venus Model Guyana Committee with Onisha Hudson. We did the Miss Venus Model pageant in Anguilla. First time our girl when she got second runner-up. We did costume, evening gowns and what's not. Did a collab with Sani Ujami. During the pandemic, it was M1 to Glenn, Brian Gomes, Annie Gomes. It was like a whole pandemic collab. I also did stuff for St. Kitts, the Miss Caribbean Culture Queen. Called Best Gang there, I think it's 2019 or 2018. So yeah, I did a few
You're pretty
collabs.
much out there.
Yeah,
All
I'm
right.
out there.
I know some of our viewers at home, may want an opportunity who have not heard of or have not seen you in a long time or you're working a long time. How can they see what you're designing? I mean, even though we're living, again, viewers. Sometimes it gets to me that you always have to keep mentioning the pandemic, but this is our reality.
True.
Even though we're living in a pandemic, there are not much activities out there that you can dress up and go to. How can they see what the possibilities are after the pandemic, if ever? How can they see the possibilities, what some of the things that you design and so on? And I think at this instant too, I'd also like you to talk about the name of your design and makeup line, because I find it very interesting.
Alright, so during the pandemic and before the pandemic, I would have been creating. I'm still creating.
Okay.
I'm finding ways in which you can use other means or other stuff to complement clothing. So some persons might not be able to afford a designer piece or might not want to have a designer garment to go out with because of the pandemic. You can't dress up. But then I found a way that I can make some mini duffel bags or some nice handmade purses or clutches, and it can complement any look. And that's like, okay, I'm making a statement, so yeah. Alright, the name Ronuj Designs. Ronuj Designs is actually my name, but I turn it back to front because I call myself a fashion god. So I mean, like, Ronuj Designs is for me the definition of Ronuj Designs is the fashion god. Beat by Mark, so the beat represents beauty, enhance, attention, touch. You're beautiful, let me enhance it. You create the attention with my touch.
And viewers, I must tell you, I already feel special because he has promised to, well, they say beat. Man, I don't like the word beat when it comes to involving my face, but he has already promised to do my makeup, and I look forward to that. So I'm already feeling special. You see, he said small things. Mark just mentioned he has two of the bags here to display. After we take the next commercial break, you will see the bags. If you can recall, those of you who have been following the Malika Ramsey Show in the beginning, our first guest was Jackie Jacks, and she had one of those little bags. And again, if you follow both persons on social media, you'll see a lot of, not just some of, a lot of his work. Mark, moments ago you described yourself as what? Is a fashion god? You like to think of yourself as a fashion god. All right. You can see that in some of his designs. And I must ask you this, and it can get a little controversial. When you say fashion god, it immediately took me to one of your designs I saw earlier, and you were in a gong-like something that normally, well, I shouldn't say normally, I have to be very careful how I talk about this, but generally you would see females adorned in that. Now, as a designer, you talked about your creativity and so on, so you will push the button you will push the envelope and you will stretch. In designing and wearing, being adorned in something like that, have you experienced things like discriminatory remarks, things that say, okay, he's a male designer, but yet he got these guns and he's not only designing, but he's wearing those things. I know at some point you may have had these comments or questions. How do you deal with things like that, if you have had issues like that?
Well, it's so weird that, alright, I know the exact piece you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
That exact piece was from my birthday shoot this year. So
Okay.
this year I turned 27, so I did 7 looks for my fans and for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So the entire line was called Birth and Rebirth.
Nice.
So in that sense, that part I think was called Educate. Let's educate our kids about our culture. So that's why you had all the patchwork with the prints, and I was with the book and I was teaching you. They call it our spirituality, but African spirituality sometimes people tend to call it obia.
Yeah.
And there's no way, and there's no, like, I don't know of any organization here that teaches spirituality for Africans. I don't know, I might be wrong. So it's like, that was for me saying, I want to learn this,
You wanna learn
and let's
African
not say that this is this. Now for the skirt, men used to wear a skirt back in the days, but I just took it to the next level.
Yeah, and the thing
I
is,
modernized
is sometimes we can be left behind. Things
True.
that are accepted in the wider world,
Yep.
sometimes we take a long time to get there. And
True.
I still don't think we're there as yet. So,
Well, we're getting there. Like, you asked if I had any negative remarks. I was looking for that with the pics and everything that I did for my birthday this year, but for some odd reason, everything was positive. So for me, I'm like, this pandemic would have changed the mindset of a lot of persons in Guyana locally. Even if they had something negative to say, they didn't put it on social media. Maybe they would have talked in a small gathering with their friends. But kudos to you guys.
You're grateful for that.
Yeah, I am.
All right, viewers, if you're now tuning in, we're having a conversation with fashion designer, and makeup artist. He does some other things too. I'm going to try to get him to talk about those other things. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side of the break, we'll show you those bags that he talked about, and we will also continue our conversation. This is the Malika Ramsey Show. Stay tuned. Thanks for staying with us. Just a quick reminder that our program comes to you with the kind compliments of Designs Royal. They specialize in designing and printing business card, ID badges, flyers, posters, tickets, etc. Also with the compliments of Spring Fresh Purified Drinking Water. You can call 669-1001 and they deliver. Their areas of delivery are East Rumbelt, Lamaha Springs, Lamaha Garden, and they deliver daily from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. As you also saw one of the advertisements, it comes to you also with the kind compliments of Big Backs Meals on Wheels, and they do deliver. I know you got all the information there. If you would like to advertise on our program, send an email to the malikaramsey.show@gmail.com. And also, if you think you'd make an interesting guest, or you know someone like Mark who would make an interesting guest, do be sure to drop us an email, and we'd like to thank you for all of your support thus far. Alright, so we'll get back to Mark now. He has those bags that he told you about earlier, the handbags, and I know some of the ladies would love these, and I'm hoping that our operator could put the camera on Mark so he'll show you those designer bags. And I think they're really, really cool. The green one, Mark tried to get me to hold the green one, but I'm looking at my outfit and it's not matching with anything.
It doesn't have to match.
It
Just
doesn't.
to be a standoff piece or a standout piece.
We're still waiting on our okay.
There's a bit of green in your
your
earrings, so I mean,
the
what
green
is
in the earring. You see,
complement
this is
it.
a fashionista. I know the viewers maybe
So-
can't see the green, but
So
yeah,
this is
Mark,
what-
tell us about that piece.
So I was at the studio one day and I wanted to create a purse,
Yeah.
but I didn't want a regular purse, so I went downstairs, got a plate, and I cut 4 pieces of fabric. This was for my gosh.
Not in your head, Mark.
This was for Marvel Langevine. Thing
Yes.
she had a graduation and
Yes.
like a dinner, and she was the person who I created this first bag for.
Okay.
And this is a really cute, handy bag. You can use it for any occasion, any function. It holds your phone, your money, your charger, and I think it holds your car keys, and it's very handy to move around with and very stylish.
Light, yeah, and stylish. How can they get that piece?
Well, you can contact me on Mark Junor, Facebook, Instagram at Ronuj Designs or official Mark Junor, or you can contact my business page on Facebook at Mark Junor. You can come and get one of these bags, or most of my stuff are housed down at One's Design. That's at 101 Regent Road, Bordeaux, just behind Sears.
Okay.
Now we're looking at my latest babies. These are my mini duffel bags.
Mini duffel bag.
Yeah, mini duffel bags. When I say mini duffel bags, everybody want to go out. You gotta have the sack on your back. It's not giving you the vibe.
It's not giving you the style or the
No,
fashion.
kids, you can imagine me wearing a have a sack with this and like. When you have a mini duffel bag now, this
more
pump up your style.
stylish.
It's more stylish. Small, but it's very handy because it can hold a lot of things inside. I had clothing for a weekend trip with friends, and one of these same mini duffel bags. It held my towel. I had like 2 shorts, 2 vests, 2 short pants, and a slip in the bag in it. It worked.
And I guess those give it a little a fuller look, a fuller expression.
Yes, and most of my work are Afrocentric. So you'll find me using a lot of prints because I love prints, and I think everybody will love print, especially with the placement together. So.
Yep. All right, great. I already talked about what and who inspired you. Is there because all right, most times when we talk about extravagant fashion designing, we think about things like the red carpet, award shows, the Met Gala. Those things are not our culture here in Ghana.
No.
We don't have those activities.
True.
We don't have those events. Given that fact or those little facts, when you design, apart from designing for yourself, when you design the extravagant outfits, how difficult or how easy it is to get that on the market, on the local market. Yeah, there I go again with the word local, but I'm talking about the market this time, not the person. But how difficult or how easy it is for you to get that onto the local market and really and truly attract the everyday Guyanese, the everyday mother, the everyday daughter, the everyday son.
Well, for me now, it's gonna be easy for me because the generation that I'm in, it's all about the high glam. I am not gonna wear something simple and go to a function. I need to be the center of attention. So like my clients, they always come and they're like, Mark, I want to win. I want to be the showstopper. I had a lot of clients who are bridesmaid and maid of honor for weddings, and I'm like, you sure you want me to design this dress for you? They're like, yeah. 2 days they come back, Mark, you got humpy down a bed, you got the bride side and she's crying. I'm like, it's not my fault she didn't come to me. She's like, yeah, like.
So you haven't actually done a wedding dress though. You haven't.
Several.
You've done those. All right. We need to go looking for them. As we're still on the note of it, and I'm going to come to the other types of designing. As we're still on the note of extravagance, are there or is there any one of the bigger, the wider world, the international artists that either inspire you, or that you would like to work with, or maybe take a piece of this, not wholesale, but a piece of this or that from him or her?
I love Donatella Versace.
All right.
Like, she is the bomb. I mean, coming from her brother, but she would have been doing some wonderful things since he would have passed. And I think she's pretty awesome. And like the cuts and the details in their garments, that's what I admire.
Okay. that pulls you in. So that is inspiration, and you would
Yeah,
like to work
because
with.
they're all about body positivity. They show a lot of skin, and that's my brand. It's like you got to be comfortable in your skin, and even if you're not comfortable in your skin, when you put on a Kram design piece, you will be comfortable.
In talking about being comfortable in your skin and showing a lot in your skin, things are different. Things have come a different path from the 80s and the 90s.
True.
How do you respond to an older person who may be classy and dressy and stylish, but they would say, "Man, look, it's too much skin. It's it gives a different
There's
idea."
things we can do to alter that. You still got to be comfortable at the end of the day, but yet I still have to be a designer, and I still have to put you out there and make you look good. So I'll find ways and means and things that I can do to make it look flattering, but yet still conservative for the person.
All right, great. If I come to you and say, "Okay, Mark, I need you to design," I mean, we're accustomed to saying, "Okay, you're going to the seamstress, you're going to the worker."
True.
If I come to you and I say, "Okay, I need a piece for work," can you, again, you do extravagant pieces, but can you bring it down? Can you come down a notch?
Yes, I can bring it down. I do bring it down, but not all the time. Like I have selective persons that I would say, okay, I'm gonna do this working clothes because I don't want my focus to be on working clothes.
Okay.
It's like I don't want to do simple stuff.
You want
Simple
the
stuff gives me headache. But the extravagant pieces, it's like, all right, I want to do this. Like me staying up all night and tacking up the Keon dress, trying to figure out a particular cut for a dress, like those things push me to do more.
So not too much of the simple stuff. All right. We're gonna let's talk about I want to talk a bit about, I'm looking at the time, and I want to talk a bit about your makeup line. But before we talk about that, have you ever heard or have you ever been criticized? Because we've heard these conversations before. Why is it that local designers, especially the extravagance ones, we're talking about extravagant designing here,
Okay.
it's not affordable for us, for our culture, or climate? Have you heard sentiments like that? And again, how do you deal with that?
Had that several times, but it's just a way for you to sit down and talk with your clients. Now, the materials that we have here is not locally made. Most of the time we have to import materials, and it's very expensive. Even if you're not going to buy it from the market and you're going to order it online, the shipping is very expensive too. So, I mean, this is where you have to sit down now with your client and be like, this is plan A, this is plan B, and this is plan C. This plan C is in your budget. Plan A is what I think is going to look really good, and it's going to give you the feel and the vibe that you want. But plan B is what I can come down to so that I can meet you in the center and give you a feel of plan A, but yet still stick to plan C.
So Mark Junor wouldn't necessarily, and viewers, again, we're dealing with reality. It's not knocking anyone, but would Mark Junor go into any one of the clothing stores locally and get materials to design anything extravagant? Is that possible, or everything would have to be ordered online?
I go into the stores and buy material here locally.
I like that.
I got my girl Kim. I buy a lot of material from Kim and Richard at Big Market. And then guy in the stores, because they have some things that the other stores might not have every now and then.
All right, great. Let's go over to your makeup line now. And yeah, because I want to touch on makeup quickly, and then I also want to get a minute or two of you, again, in terms of surviving in your business during the pandemic. But before we talk about that, makeup, in terms of the length of time, and how do you do both? You fashion, that's energy, that's creativity, and then the makeup. Well, the kind of makeup that's happening these days. Let's talk about
glam,
that.
high glam.
Yes.
Well, for me, how I started makeup, so I'm a dancer. I danced at the National School of Dance. I would have been dancing for over 10 years. And because of stage, I would have had to use makeup for stage. And because of that, I would have driven my passion into doing makeup not only for stage, but for like everyday wear and weddings and different functions. And I went and I did some courses with Tanisha Garnett, Clinton Duncan, Natasha Seeley. And I merged whatever they taught me with what I would have been doing my own research and YouTube with. And then, since then, so it was like,
Comes naturally.
9 years doing this.
All right.
And I'm not even wearing makeup tonight.
skin glow. Yeah, what is it? The natural glow.
Yep.
Not everyone is fortunate to have that. Yeah. All right. So it's fashion, dancing, or fashion makeup dancing. These are the arts. These I call you people creative geniuses. And it would have been one of the industries that would have suffered. And I did talk to musicians about this. But these areas are part of an industry that would have suffered serious loss and a serious blow because we're living in a pandemic. We got to a point where we can't touch, you can't this, you can't hug, your hands in faces, congregating to dance, doing fashion by yourself. How have you survived the pandemic given your line of work, your profession?
When the pandemic started, I saw blows. It was really tough because every single thing that you had saving would have had to be going in your pocket just to survive on a daily basis. But then I used my initiative. I sew, and I know that masks was very important. And I started making masks to sell, advertising over my social media, using my social media platforms, and persons would have called an order, and I would have just go and deliver, and that kept me up to par. I started surviving again, and I started living, and I had clients coming to get their makeup done. They still gotta work, like once a week or twice a week.
All right, great. Well, you clearly are a survivor.
Yeah.
Again, viewers, well, it's coming down to wrap up time. We do have to apologize that you didn't get to see a lot more of Mark Junar's work because, again, COVID restrictions. As you can see, I'm having a conversation with him, my mask adorned. He's not wearing one, but this is also a form of protection. We sanitize our area. So again, we can't have too many people in studios. So we apologize for not having the usual flair that you would see whenever we're talking about fashion. But like he said, go on his Facebook pages and you'll get all the information there. You know how you can support him, support young businesses in Guyana, not just young businesses, support our businesses here. And yeah, we want to thank Mark for coming through. Of course, we still have the final word coming up, but before we take another quick break and then come back for tonight's final word, Mark, anything that you would want to say to encourage persons maybe who look at you and okay, tonight you inspired somebody. Maybe I have what it takes, I have the creative juices and so on, but how to get my ducks in a row, whether they want to be a fashion designer, a dancer, or a makeup artist, what would you say to them?
Well, I would advise you never give up. Keep striving to what you believe and what you love. Always ask for help if you need help. There are persons out there you can reach out to. You can reach out to me if you're into fashion. You can reach out to other designers, other makeup artists, other dancers. Everybody's willing to share because there's room for everybody in the industry.
All right. I think that's wonderful of you to say that there is room for everybody. Yes, so it doesn't have to be a crabs in a barrel situation. All right, great. Mark, thank you so very much for coming on the Malika Ramsey Show.
Thank you so much for having me tonight, Malika.
You are very welcome. All right, viewers, we'll take a quick break. On the other side of the break, we'll have tonight's final word, and then we'll have to wrap up to leave you. Stay tuned. Welcome back, and it's time for me to leave you this evening from another edition of the Malika Ramsey Show. Tonight's final word, I want to take this opportunity to say congratulations and thank you very much for those artists who played a major role in showcasing Guyana, or earlier in the week. They did a wonderful job in Dubai. I am not going to call the names. I'm not going to start calling names, the names of the persons who are involved in the group, because I don't know the names of every single person. I don't want to get myself into trouble. But I want to say congratulations to them. You showcased Guyana well. For those of you who are on social media, some negative comments came out of it because some person started to put the political stain on it. I just want to say tonight, especially when it comes to certain things and showcasing our country, especially when artists bind together to showcase, it is not always about politics. Remember, those artists have to survive. They have to live, they have to work, and they have to get paid. Don't always involve them in politics, and some of them say to you straight up that they don't want to be involved in politics. So stop the bashing and force it. We know what the realities are in Guyana. No one has to force that on you or preach that to you on a daily basis. This was something good. They did a good job at showcasing what Guyana has to offer, our culture, parts of our nature. So say congratulations to the group and just move on. Everything doesn't have to be confrontational. When people do well, congratulate them, say well done, and move on. And that's it for tonight's final word. And also, that is it for tonight's edition of the Malika Ramsey Show. Once again, thank you very much to all of our sponsors, all our supporters in the background, in the forefront. And thank you to our guest, fashion designer, dancer, makeup artist, Junor, for coming on our program. I am Malika Ramsey. Thank you very much for watching. Those of you who are now tuning in and you've missed it, of course, this program will be loaded subsequently to both YouTube and my Facebook pages. I am Malika Ramsey McPherson. Again, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. And of course, have a good night.